Cat, are you in there?
Hi, Kat.
Catherine says hi. Like I can hear her trying to like creep in because our bedroom's right next to the study and there's like a door between it. I was like, I was this close to closing the door. I'm like, oh, it might be a bit stuffy. I'll just leave that door open. The main door's closed. Anyway. Right. Here we are. Excuse me. Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelled Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, summer vacation. Oh, we're on summer vacation. I don't think that's even a song. I was like, I almost did
Holiday.
Holiday Road. I'm like, yeah. I got like caught in between too many 80s movie holiday songs. But that the other person you can hear on the side of the thing, let's just bring her in, bring her on this big news day. Catherine Kneen, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, good. It's Holiday Catherine. So Holiday
Yep.
Catherine is the best Catherine.
Yep. It's good to get you right in the middle of holidays because you've had enough time to decompress
Yep.
and you're still far enough away before the start of school. So this is like optimal. This is like the sweet spot.
I haven't even gone to Office Works yet to get the supplies.
Damn, what a life! You're just living the dream. So what we were gonna do? So actually, I'm down the beach at the moment. We were just doing a bit of a tech setup here, and I wasn't planning on recording, so I'm going off a microphone, but I've actually got my Zoom here because I had it in my bag, so I'm recording my track off that. So that may or may not work. So there's all these things going on that, behind the scenes trying to get this ready, and this is normally the time that Catherine and I, and sometimes Matthew Mole, do our end of season. That was the year that was our wrap up show, but someone had to drop out at the last minute. And we thought, oh, wow, what are we going to do? And then some news, like from a comet from the sky.
It was such bizarre news to wake up to this morning.
Yeah, it's very weird when and I mean, it happens to us obviously because of the time zone, when you go to bed and you wake up and something's happening. Sometimes there's more notifications. And like, I know when the Andor news dropped for you, Catherine, obviously like your phone
Yeah.
melted.
Yeah.
But there's also more notifications and things and chatter than going on, and you go like, something's going on, something's happening.
Yeah.
Did you just hear it on socials, or did you just like open a news website? It was in the news website, or
Well, a bit of insight into me. Alarms go off. I look at my phone and then I turn sleep off and I go, oh, that's a lot of notifications on
mm,
all the various socials we've got to have now. But I do go to the chat first, to our chat, and there was
yep,
already stuff about,
chat.
yeah, chat about,
I haven't even mentioned what it is. I just realized. I feel like, what are you talking about? Like, if you're listening to this Star Wars podcast, you don't have an idea what we're talking about. I guess maybe if you're going through the back catalogue and
good chance.
maybe it's December now, maybe it's December 2025, and we're all still here, and you're going through the back catalogue, and you're like, what were they talking about? It was obviously the announcement of a new Star Wars movie, not one that we'd already heard about. The Mandalorian and Grogu, nuts and gum together at last.
Yeah, it was a surprise in that it is a new movie announcement from directed by Favreau, because I think we knew about the Filoni, what is it, Mandoverse movie, but this is
Mm-hmm.
separate from that. This is another movie, and so that was a bit of a, oh, that's it, because I have to admit I first saw it and went, oh, okay, that's what the Mando movie is going to be called.
Movie's
Oh, they're
called.
moving that
I
up.
immediately went, suckers, it's not Heir to the Empire. That was the first thing I heard. I'm like, they're going to be like Matt Mole and Jimmy Dice are going to be so mad. I don't know. Are they going to be mad or happy? I can't tell. Who can tell? But it wasn't. I mean, yeah, I just assumed that was what they were talking about.
Yeah.
No.
At least I've just woken up brain to, explain the not understanding the headline. And then I, I went to like Discord and sort of saw chat and went, oh, hang on, it's another movie and they're
Yeah, it's a new
starting this
movie.
year.
So there was a rumor a little while ago that season 4 of Mando was going to be a movie.
Yeah.
And it seemed a bit like, whatever, like that sounds like that make no sense. That doesn't make no sense. That doesn't make any sense.
That sort of felt like a fan.
It felt like just throwing a bunch of stuff at a
speculation.
wall. Yeah.
It
They
more
might have
felt
speculated
like,
a whole bunch of other things.
yeah, it more felt like the speculation of how season 3 ended. Maybe it'll be a movie next. But even though I think it ended with a really good week to week procedural almost type of thing, but yes, saying this for real was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it just seems because now there's two of them. Now there are two of them because now there's two Mandoverse movies. So like I put this question actually because Steele's been quite actively posting about this. I think it happened while he was on the plane. Perfect time to get Star Wars news. Can you think like I know there's like a million TV shows, so movies based on TV shows.
Yep.
Whether it's like Brady Bunch, whether it's a reboot of a TV show that's long gone. Like your Brady Bunches or your A-Team or
Mission Impossible.
Bewitched or Mission Impossible. Yeah, all those ones of a show that use an existing IP of a famous TV show and Addams Family, all that kind of stuff. And they do that, bring it out years later. And then sometimes you get the Entourage movie or the Sex and the City movie where it's like the show's finished but we do a movie at the end kind of thing.
So the 6 seasons in a movie type of thing. So
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't 6 seasons. It wasn't even 1 season. I'm thinking of Firefly with the movie Serenity.
Yeah. So similar thing. Like the show's wound up and then they go in and they do the movie at the end. But I was trying to think of a movie, a TV show movie that comes out, a movie of a TV show that comes out while the TV show was still running. So we're assuming that there's going to be a season 5. The only one I could think of was the X-Files movie.
Yes.
Fight the Future.
Yeah. I'm sure they've... Now, I should know because...
They've done a few of them.
Yeah. The timing of the X-Files movies is a bit jumbled in my brain because we got the X-Files seasons obviously a bit later than they were released in America, but I think the movies were somewhat similar. I don't know. I can't remember. It's all jumbled back there. But yeah, there was definitely a... mid-run of the TV show there was at least one movie, if not another movie, but it wasn't like there was a big run-up to the movie either. It was
yeah. I saw the movie at the cinema and I watched the TV show a bit. Like I knew who Mulder and Scully were and I knew that they investigated the paranormal. And I do remember enjoying the movie and I remember it was sort of like the first time they like blatantly showed aliens and all that kind of stuff. And that was sort of what the dealio was. And I think maybe Mulder and Scully kissed or something as well. Maybe, who knows? Who can remember? Catherine remembers. she's like, when we wrap up here, I'm going to put the X-Files movie on.
We all know a bit about Catherine. How hard of an X-Files fan do we think Catherine was?
I think
Catherine
one that
owned
would be pretty
VHS
excited
box
if they were
sets.
kissing. Oh, there you go.
Catherine wagged
mark of any true
school
fan.
to see Gillian Anderson.
The fact that you actually wagged school is a surprise to me as well.
That was the only time I did it.
Like, worth it.
Yep.
Totally worth it. So I couldn't think of any other show that's dropped a movie while the show was going. Like you had ones where like the show ends and they do a movie and maybe they come and they do like the Sex and the City. They basically brought it back, effectively the same show. But as far as going, we're going to do a mid-run, do a movie, and then
I can't think of
I
anything else.
I get the logic. No. At least nothing sort of big enough. Like, there might have been some weird, like, I mean, like, you know what just occurred to me? And I don't know if this is actually accurate or not. Batman, the original, not the 89 Batman movie, the 1966 Batman movie.
Yeah, I can't remember when that fell.
Did that come out?
Google.
You know what? I'm not going to Google it. I can't because I'm tethering off my phone here. My internet is so precarious that I'm not going to. So the train spotters will have to check that out. But the Batman 66 movie I don't think it came after the show was done. They'd been cancelled. I think it came out to capitalize on this is the Batman 66 movie Star Wars equivalent right now.
Yeah, because it had
Are you
the
furiously
four
Googling
major
right now?
villains.
Yeah, they brought this is effectively what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, Din and Grogu, and then you'll have Catwoman. I don't know which Catwoman it was, whether it was Eartha Kitt, Julie Newmar.
It wasn't
Lee
Eartha
Merriweather?
Kitt.
And was there another one as well?
Uh, Lee
Burgess Meredith,
Merriweather.
Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero. God, talk about retaining useless information. I can name the actors of all the Batman villains. Lee Merriweather. Okay.
So Batman the movie, yes, I went to
Wonder
IMDb.
if that was during the run. And this is
When-
essentially what we're getting is the Batman 66 version. That could be the cover art.
It was a 1966 movie, and the TV series is listed as 1966. So I think the movie was like right before the TV show, I think, but I could be wrong. I have to look at like release dates. And of course,
It's always been referred to as Batman 66. So I assume it went from, because it did 3 seasons, so I assume it went 66 to 68, maybe. 68, 67, 68.
Oh, they're saying...
we might have to get the researchers onto that. But...
Okay, yeah. United States release, 30th July 1966. And the TV show, this is all IMDb.
Okay. We can
It's
work
all
that out.
IMDb.
Don't have to worry.
Release 25th of United States, 12th of January 1966. So that is a very muddled release date, but that sounds... The Batman TV series was started January 1966 and the movie was released like June 1966. So it was a bizarre, like mid, run. Yeah. So
This is
I
what
don't
this
know what
is.
we
This
can
is
learn from that.
Well, what we can learn is that this movie is essentially the Batman 66 movie of Star Wars movies. That it's this weird mid-run. Like, I know obviously the continuity in Batman 66 is probably not quite as, quite as solid.
Mando does have a utility belt, and it would be brilliant if
And
he
a
had
little
sharp
spunky,
propellant, like in that movie.
That's true. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. And you could call Grogu old chum.
Look, anyone out there who hasn't seen 66 Batman or any of that TV series, do yourself a favour. It is hilarious.
What are you doing? What are you doing with your life if you haven't seen all those? I've got them all. I've got them all. I'm going to get Olive into it soon at some stage. I reckon she'll like it. But look, on paper, this makes sense. I get it. Like, it's recognized brand, loved characters. Favreau's got experience doing big blockbusters. He's had a few hits. They could probably make it for not a lot of money. I mean, I say not a lot of money, but like they could make it for probably $100 million.
Yeah.
Given that they've already got the set, a lot of the sets, the volume, the development, the R&D, all of that stuff's done. Depending on the actors, you don't have any huge name actors for a start. I mean, Pedro Pascal probably will get paid a little bit more to do his voice, but he's probably only going to be doing his voice, maybe one shot with his helmet off. So therefore, it only has to make 200 or 300 million to break even. If it makes half a million, even if it makes solo numbers, like, that's cash in the bank.
Yeah. Look.
So
if they're doing a movie, I'm sorry, but the helmet has to come off. It is unacceptable for the helmet not to come off at some stage in a movie.
But the problem is now that they've established that if he does it, there's a whole bunch of dicking around that has to happen. That's the problem. He could have just been, I'm going to take my helmet off, and you know what? But most of the time, I'm just going to wear it because we all know why. Because Pedro's not on set, and they didn't have to have a whole thing like, you're not a Mandalorian. You got to go through all this crap to do all of that again. Like, now he either won't take it off, or he's got to do all this stuff, or they're going to have to just backpedal on all the other stuff we already sat through in the last season.
Yeah. And I think that's something that annoyed me. Another thing that annoyed me about season 3 of you are just now making excuses as to why he's not going to take his helmet off, and it's ridiculous. Like, even in private, come on, we we are the omniscient viewer. We are with them in private moments when they think when they are alone, we are there. Therefore, we can see him take his helmet off. But I'm come on. Come on,
It
Pedro.
does. Yeah, look, it does open up a can of worms. And, mid-season, is it a standalone story? And then if it's a standalone story, what are the stakes and where do you end up? Or is it literally just like a season of television compressed into a movie with bigger set pieces that propels the story forward? I don't know. I feel like if it's just kind of like Mando and Grogu go on an adventure and it's unrelated to everything that happens, and at the end they go home and they end up back at home and they go, "Woo, what an adventure! Can't wait to tell IG-11 about this one," or Bo-Katan or somebody else, because the ensemble movie is supposed to be coming. So, what is this? What is it gonna be?
To make a movie, you feel like the stakes have to be big.
Higher.
Yeah. Like that was the thing about even the original trilogies, that they are the major events. But yes, stuff happens in betweens, but that we see in comic books or whatever. But the big things are the things that happen in the movies. And you think, well, for this to be a movie, it has to be a big major thing. And I think part of us probably would have thought, going back a couple of years, probably would have thought, oh, that might be the retaking of Mandalore or something like that. But they've done that.
Yeah. So what do you do?
What are the stakes?
Do they start? I mean, do they get entangled with the New Republic more? Like, are they going to bring Luke and Leia and Han? Are we going to have a scene where they walk in a door and it's like, meet my weird family, and it's CG Luke, CG Rogue One Leia and Olden Ehrenreich is in a room. It's just like, hi, here's the guys you love, kind of, I guess.
Don't.
You're like, what is this? What is this? What have they done? CG Luke's talking to Olden Ehrenreich with CG Leia. Oh no!
Don't do that. Like,
don't
put that
do
out.
that.
Yeah.
But is it going to be this weird mishmash of, I mean, but again, it's movie money. So movie money means bigger set pieces, which means more action, which means do they get into a scrap with the Empire or something big? I don't know. Like, I never felt like, I mean, the Mandalorian certainly got bigger in scale anyway. It didn't feel like there was a million things you can't do. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Do you think, like, and actually this is a good question to ask you because you've done this. Do you think that the fact that we've seen some of these Mando episodes on a big screen in a cinema, we saw a big one, but we saw some of the big ones at Celebration, which is on a big screen, but we've actually like sat in a big cinema and watched stuff. Do you think that takes the excitement out because we've kind of done it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I mean, they felt like the closest, like those nights that we've had, the ones that Disney have put on, have felt the closest to like a Star Wars premiere. Yes. Where you're like at the cinema, you're seeing friends, just the buzz. And I mean, it's not, there was freebies. I think it was like the Obi-Wan one, we got goodies and all sorts of stuff.
It definitely
it almost feels like, I've kind of done
it?
this. Yeah. But again, you're kind of going, well, I'm watching the show. But at the same time, I'm still watching the show at the big screen, but this is going to be the movie version of the show. So, it's got to be bigger. What do you do to make it bigger? Do you make it a musical with puppets like Matt Frost suggested?
Oh, yes, please.
I just thought of another one, the Muppet movie. Was that going when the Muppet Show was still going?
Oh,
again,
you'd have to.
But let's not fall down the rabbit hole. So we got Batman 66 and the Muppet movie. I have a feeling maybe the Muppet Show had finished by then.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I think you might be right, actually.
yeah.
Okay.
That feels right. Um, but yeah, like it wasn't like the Muppet Show had a big narrative arc, like a story leading
No,
up to
that's
it.
true.
And then the Muppet
Very
movie
true.
was just, well, the
It's like
origin
an origin
stories
story. Yeah.
of yeah. So the stakes have to be big, but it's also got to be focused on Mando and Grogu. And the moment, if you start bringing legacy characters, focus is off them.
Yeah. Absolutely. But anybody, I mean, legacy characters for sure, but like anyone, like
Yeah.
Nine Numb, you'd be like, oh, look, it's bloody Nine Numb. Um, yeah, I mean, I think Boba Fett is, I mean, I think if they pluck from the Mandoverse, you've obviously got Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, you've got Bo
Cobb
Katan,
Vanth.
Axe Wodes, Cobb Vanth, bloody Ellie, no, Pelly,
Yep.
Thingy McJobby, IG-11, Jack Black and Lizzo.
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know. Or do they just fly solo and they go, they're on an adventure, don't expect to see any of those people? But again, if you don't fill it with those people, you've got to fill it with new characters. Okay, cool. Or you drop, I mean, it all depends on the story, doesn't it, really? Where's this thing going? And so they're going to shoot this year. So end of next year? Is that when they want to drop it?
I mean, it was a bit vague. They haven't set a release date. I think I just kind of assumed 2025 because in my head I had December 2025 was, one of those slots that Disney put out as a future Star Wars project. But,
Yep.
Everything gets mixed and swirled around. And 2025 makes sense from in April, there's a Star Wars celebration. So it makes
Yep.
sense from that point of view to have a movie that year.
I mean, the thing is also is that they could have been, well, I mean, obviously they've been preparing this for a while, but they can do a lot of prep on this without really raising suspicion because everyone just assumes they're making another series. So if you're calling back actors and props people and everything and Mando related, they're like, well, we're doing and they go, surprise, we're making a movie, everybody's working less or whatever it is. I don't know. But you can do all of that and hit the ground running probably pretty quick and shoot it this year and get it out next year without too much trouble. But that does mean what happens to the Rey movie, which was supposed to be happening, has that been pushed back? And if it's not been pushed back much, are we going to start getting 6 months between Star Wars movies again? And we're back at this.
Like, I hope that we don't get the 6 months between because the one a year, December, it made it special. And I don't want them to stop, I don't want a Star Wars movie to stop being special. Like the Marvel movies, in a lot of ways, aren't special anymore. Like I still haven't seen the Guardians movie that came out in 2023.
Yeah, I don't know whether you'd like that one, Catherine. I know there's a lot of bad animal stuff in that one,
Yeah.
and I know how you feel about animals.
Yeah.
Did they? I haven't got the press release in front of me. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
walking the tightrope of internet here. But did they actually say it was releasing in 2025 or shooting in 2024? Could it come out this year? Like, how much production does it actually need? Is a
They've got
year
to
to shoot
do-
and bring it out? Is that too? That's probably too soon, isn't it?
It will
really?
go into production 2024. So they're not saying when in 2024. Obviously, we are 10th of January as we're speaking in Australia. So,
Yep.
early January. They've got no release date listed here, but, you've got to think they can do previs, a lot of the previs while they're writing or finishing the scripts. If they're using the volume,
I don't know. I just feel like for some reason it's not.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like a real movie. It just feels like a TV movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just feel like it's just the same as shooting the TV. It's like Caravan. They're just making Caravan of Courage, and like us the suckers in Australia, we went and saw it at the cinema.
Hey, don't lock it.
And I guess
It's
that'll be
my
the
first
question
Star
will
Wars
be,
experience at a cinema.
well, that's true. Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. You didn't see Jedi at the cinema?
No, I've asked
Um,
Mum about this, and because Dad took my brother and sister, but Mum thought I was too young. Little does she know, how it would dominate my destiny. Um, but no, I wasn't allowed to go to that. But yeah, saw Caravan of Courage up
I
at
went, but I was
Nana's.
scared through a lot of it. I did see Return of the Jedi at the cinema, but I was scared through big chunks of it, especially the Emperor. Um, yeah, so TV movie is this Caravan of Courage, and I guess we're going anyway. Is
Yeah,
Joe Star Wars fan going to go? I mean, I know Mando's their most popular stuff at the
yeah,
moment. So will you get casual viewers? Probably, depending what time of the year it comes out. I mean, if it came out this summer, now at Christmas time, there's not a hell of a lot on. We tried to go see Wonka the other night, or Wonky, as my youngest daughter says. She goes, "We're going to go see Wonky." I'm like, "Wonky?" I'm like, "Wonka, Wonky." And I'm like, "Oh, Wonka." And we tried to go the other day when the rain came and we couldn't get a ticket. So I don't think there's a hell of a lot out. If Mando and Grogu movie was out, I think people would just go. One, because
yeah,
it's Star Wars and you need something else out. But is it going to clash with those Avatar movies still? I'd have to get. I need. This is when you need something like King Tom. He's kind of got like he's got the itemized thing everywhere.
that
He knows.
yeah, that release schedule. Um, well,
Um,
Mandalorian is still a very popular show. So when people know I'm a Star Wars fan, they might talk about the Mandalorian or ask me questions about it. And had they watched Boba Fett?
yep.
No, they hadn't all watched Andor. That was like, so then I get on my soapbox and tell them you will watch Andor,
despite
or
despite
you will
your
stop being my
protest.
friend. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
ev-
Yeah.
most
Well,
people
this is
have
why I mean it
seen
makes
and
sense.
are
I mean, it's the
aware
most
of.
recognizable thing.
Yeah,
Well, if they put this out and it makes you know good money, I mean, it's crazy to say like $500 million is if it makes between 500 million and if it makes $5 to $7 billion and it doesn't cost that much to make, they can use that to basically fund all the rest of these inadvertent riskier Star Wars projects. Your Ray movie, your Dawn of the Jedi. Not that Disney's short on money, but if they're worried about, they took a bath on a fair few projects this year, Disney. If they're
yeah,
just going, hey, we can make this for not a gajillion dollars and it's got a good chance of return. Let's do it. We can get Favs involved and yeah, it's just what's
yeah.
this
I
damn
haven't
thing
deep
gonna
dived
be about?
into everything Disney, but I know or I've heard that from the financial side, their parks are still like their biggest earner and the most stable
Ticking
earner.
over.
So they want
Yep.
like an easy win in a way. And I think putting a Mandalorian thing out in a cinema is an easy win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, I just yeah, and then like they sort of said in the press release that Ahsoka season two's in development, which sounds like it's happening. I don't think they would have mentioned it if they didn't. It's just funny, like when these kind of press releases. I know there's somebody somewhere is obviously screen capturing all these press releases. Like, oh, do we put this one next to the, the Rogue Leader one and the Game of Thrones guys and the the Ryan Johnson trilogy, the Kevin Feige thing, the Taika Waititi. We just got a little folder of
Yeah.
all these announced Star Wars projects that we haven't seen yet. Not to say that they won't happen one day, but yeah, because it's just weird because this Filoni movie's still hanging here. So does this mean that like Ahsoka season two, like supposedly Skeleton Crew's in the same thing? So is that going to thrust the plot forward for the time being? I yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It yes, this was just in some ways a press release, just a thing on StarWars.com. It wasn't a big announcement at a celebration or that thing that Kathleen Kennedy did with, bringing out all the people to announce things. So
Yeah.
retracting
So
this,
it feels like it's
can be a
the last
deep
6 months
dive.
it's made it.
Yeah, but because it's Favreau who, has done those seasons of The Mandalorian, you sort of feel like, yeah, this has got, it probably will go ahead, like in some ways, and it will hit the cinemas because they do want, they want to own Christmas again. They own, let's face it, they own
Yep.
Christmas 2015, 16, 17. Was it 17? Yep. Not 18,
15, 16,
and then 19.
17, and then 19. Yeah, I mean, Rise of Skywalker still like made $1 billion.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, it made bank. So there wasn't some people didn't like it, myself included, but it's not like it wasn't financially successful for them. Especially rolling into a pandemic when nothing came out for a while. Yeah, I mean, if Jon Favreau's got a track record, he made the first 2 Iron Man movies. He did what else has he done? Zathura, Elf. There's a few stinkers in there. That Lion King remake was completely unnecessary, but I think it was successful. He can definitely direct. I think he could do this in his sleep, to be honest. It's not like you have to imagine a whole new style and a whole new way of doing things. And I guess that's the danger is you can't just make it feel like a 2-hour episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking back to, was it the season 2 opener where Mando goes to help the village and Cobb Vanth with the was it the big wormy
the
thing,
sandworm. Oh, the crate dragon.
yeah,
No, is it a crate dragon?
yeah, and that
The
was
wormy thing.
I mean, like that would have looked amazing on the big screen, that episode. So
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't feel like it's they struggle with scale on the TV show.
Yeah.
To a point. And then, do they do it? Do they still use the volume for this? Do they like, oh no, like we can't use the volume now because that's TV, people can tell. But I'm like, well, not necessarily. I mean, they did all the Star Wars stuff since has done stuff on the volume. Like the Batman, the one that came out last year, I know, was done. A lot of that was done on the volume, and it looks amazing. So, with a bit more cash, there's no reason. It's just got to feel. I think they're very acutely aware of that too. I think there'll be a lot of pains to say, hey, this isn't just some TV. It's not just an episode. This is an event.
And I think in some ways, maybe not Mando so much, but a lot of other productions are using the volume, but they're figuring out the best ways to use it. So yeah, you mentioned the Batman. It didn't have that. You know how Mandalorian sometimes it feels small because of that volume, that you can feel the limit of where they can film to, like the room size almost. You didn't get that. And yes, they did use the volume on Andor. They used it. It wasn't. So for Mon Mothma's apartment,
Mon Mothma's house?
They built her apartment within the volume basically, so that then the windows and all of that were like those screens, so you can blend like practical with that volume aspect and do bits like that.
The thing is that they might actually do, which wouldn't surprise me, which is actually well, I think something that they possibly might do with this is that with an extra budget is they develop a bunch of new technology or improve the technology that they use going forward as well. So they're like, well, we've got this movie budget. We can sink a bunch of this into special effects and R&D that then we can use on the show going forward, whether it means it's a volume that's 3 times the size, or we can do this that we couldn't do before. Like we didn't have the special effects budget to do that for TV. But if you do it on a movie and then you can take those assets, reuse them in the show, reuse them in the Filoni movie, smart business. So there might be a little bit of that as well. I mean, do you think, going back to plot, Planet of the Grogus?
I don't really want that.
There's an angle to get away from the stuff we've seen before. Or
Only if it's...
have we had enough of trying to get Grogu home?
it's got to be like far, far away, like in a galaxy far, far away. But we've seen three of their particular species so far, and all three have
Mm-hmm.
been force sensitive. Is that a
Yep.
coincidence, or what? But in some ways, it would
Just the
take
luck of the
away,
draw.
yeah, the magic. Are they force sensitive? And that's why they got away from where they were, or are they just otherwise secluded sort of people who don't travel off world much? Like, I mean,
I
curious,
feel like
but
that could be
is that a movie?
a third act sting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could be a third act sting. Like maybe it's
Mm.
not the journey, but you end up there and it's like, oh my god, this is your homeworld, little guy. Here's another question of are you going to stay? Are you going to go? And I think also it's just what's Grogu at the moment? Like, he can't Grogu force power his way in the third act and save the day again. Like he's done that twice now.
Yeah.
He needs some more tricks. Does he get more powerful? Does he get less powerful? Does he become more Mandalorian? Does he become more Jedi? Does he shake off? I mean, they are they going to go back to square one? Are we going to start off where we ended? Is he going to get to the end and go, no, you've got to be a Jedi? Are we going to go around in circles on this thing? I don't know. That's the problem when you've already got 3 seasons of plot, and by the end of the third season, or halfway through the third season, they were struggling to sort of, I think, struggling for ideas.
Well, the third season wasn't their story. It wasn't their story anymore. Their story
No.
pretty
And I
much
like the idea that it's
ended.
bringing it back. I mean, their relationship is yeah. And season 2 should have ended season 2. But their relationship is the core of the show. So I like the idea that it's back to basics, back to these two having an adventure. So in that respect, it's quite good to remove the clutter. And depending on what that is, I don't know. Does it have ramifications? I feel like it will. Do they do a 5th season? Maybe this is how they wrap it up. And then they roll into the next movie and then that's their story. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't
Or are they
know.
just guessing as they go along?
Well, yeah, because it feels a bit like that because, yeah, that third season, they got Grogu back with Mando, well, during Boba Fett. Um, and that, then there was like an end to their story. Yes, there was,
Yeah.
Din Djarin then doing, the side quest about the whole helmet thing, which was anywho. But really, there wasn't any story about them and a growth or of further understanding or development of their relationship. Whereas season 1 and 2, each
No.
week,
Or
it might
tension
have been a
or,
week
yeah.
to week, villain of the week type of thing, but there was some kind of growth there or moment there. And, in some ways, those moments of growth with Dean were when he took his helmet off. Like in that episode when him and Bill Burr, went to the Imperial thing and they had to dress up as stormtroopers, and Din had to take his helmet off to access the
Yep.
information. And then there was that really tense conversation. But that was meaningful to take his helmet off there. It was showing how much Grogu means to him. It meant more than this stupid creed. And then at the end of season 2, when he took his helmet off so that he and Grogu could look at each other in their eyes and they could really see each other, it was meaningful. And then season 3 sort of took
He
it.
did it all. Well, this is the thing. Like, this is the danger. So it's like, where's this relationship sit now? He's kind of, he's kind of not semi-retired. He's just got his little house now. He's got a place to live. So is it somebody comes to the planet and messes with him? Is there a new mission? Is there? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's going to break the shackles of the other stuff and put him in a new situation, all new people. I mean, that's why it's sort of like, well, Planet of the Grogu's on paper sounds pretty silly, but at the same time, at least it's something different. You can throw it in there. It doesn't have any of the baggage of the other stuff. It could potentially cause a friction or, get them to have a think about things. But again, I don't know. Like if we go back to the Jedi Academy, do we start all that up again? Do we do more flashbacks? Do we start all that up again? Do we go back to Tatooine? Do we start all that up again? They must have like, maybe this is the ending. Maybe this is the sort of the story that they had, and they potentially went, hey, this is what we want to do, but we just don't have, 8 episodes of this. So we're going to do it like this. I don't know, and we're not going to. Let's go big rather than do a TV movie or a one-off special or something like that, which would be a bit weird. I think you feel a bit shortchanged. But at the same time, I mean, the other thing is, it's like, hey man, we pay for Disney Plus every month. We expect to have new Star Wars, and now we've got to go out and pay for it at the cinema.
Yeah, but like at some point, I'm going to pay to import the steel book
It's still
of
an
the
event. It is what you
Blu-rays
make
of
of it, I suppose.
Mandalorian. Yeah.
Yep. And they'll sit on the shelf with everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, like, my big box set of all the movies was a 27 disc box that I haven't gotten any of the discs out of yet
Oh,
because
that's right.
I'm
Yeah,
too scared
you
of
got that, didn't you?
taking it.
Is it for display purposes only?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
What's like the shout out to a friend of the show, Matt Grant, where there's a guy on Facebook Marketplace. I put the link in our chat, just going, oh, there's some dude in Carlton selling a sealed Japanese version of the original trilogy on Laserdisc for like $60. He's like, I'll have that. Anyway, he's like, I'm getting that. I'm like, go for it. I mean, if I'd been in town, I probably would have did it around and been like, maybe he'll drop the price, and been like, can't I be bothered driving over to Carlton? But good on him, And that's display purposes only because it's very cool looking.
Yeah, that really is display purposes only. I at least have a Blu-ray player.
Yeah, you're like, well, I can do it if I want. If one day, like if you're down at a beach house like me and the internet's ropey, you need to put Star Wars on. So what else is there to say on this? I mean, it's cool. I mean, that's 4 new Star Wars movies that we're supposedly going to be getting. We really shouldn't be complaining about something coming out. Getting some progress, getting some news, which is exciting.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
sounding like
an interesting
a
thing
whinger, like going, oh, yeah, there's more Star Wars coming out, but yeah, it's not what I want, or it's not exactly what I thought would happen. It's like, no, I am happy, and I'm going to be really happy. I'm going to enjoy myself when they have a trailer in Japan. You're going to have to pick me up from the floor because I, again, would have screamed myself into oblivion. Like, I am excited, but
it's good to know that there'll be a definite thing at Japan now. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to know that, like, all right, there's a very good chance that there'll be a special panel. They'll show something, and it'll probably be in a movie year. Like, because movie year celebrations are the best.
Yes. But Andor. They've got to give more love to Andor. Come on.
Well, Andor's fine. It's just bubbling away. Like it's not even a question that it's not. That it's. I mean, I'm surprised that Ahsoka took this long to say that it was happening, which probably means it hasn't done amazingly well in viewership. Whereas Andor, they're already committed, and I don't think Andor has the viewing numbers of Mandalorian. I think that's a surprise, but it does have the prestige and the awards and the cred, and it's the quality. So they're always going to, stick. And they already they already went from 5 to 2. So it's like, well, don't take that away. But it's a thing where they, if anybody goes, Star Wars is whatever. And anytime I see an article, there was an article today talking about that this movie's coming, going, Star Wars, is a bit, had some misses lately, save for the excellent Andor, So it's always like. Andor is the shining light of the quality that they can still produce, basically, whether one thing isn't as good as another thing. So there'll be Andor stuff at Japan. Don't worry, Catherine. You'll probably be a local celebrity in Japan. You won't even realize it. Andor
Oh my
girl.
God. Yeah, so, I mean, we'll do a pre celebration, we'll do many pre celebration talks, but do you think there's a chance of a Diego signing or photo session?
In Japan.
Yeah,
I don't know. It depends. I mean, he's obviously been at 2 celebrations and he didn't do them there.
yeah,
Um, but, I said that there was no way that Ewan McGregor would do it and he did it. So what
yeah.
do I know? Japan might be different. He might be like, well, people aren't quite as nuts in Japan, so it's a little bit, everyone's a little bit more respectful. And then you turn up. He's like, God damn it. I came all the way here to get away from these sobbing maniacs. And there's one here now anyway. Oh, it's okay. It's Catherine, so I'll allow it. I honestly, I couldn't tell. It's possible. It'll be interesting to see who they bring over, really. And I guess if they've got this Mando movie coming out, and depending what's going on with the Rey movie, if that's in the can by then and they're promoting it, you'd assume Daisy Ridley will be there and whoever else. And it just
But also, interestingly, it's 3 days. I mean, it could change because, let's face it, tickets haven't been announced or anything like that. But as far as
Yep.
we know, celebration is only 3 days. Is that enough time for stuff about Mando and Grogu, Ray movie, Andor retrospective, or even a promo for Andor, because we don't know when Andor is going to be released, Andor season 2. No, I know every day we're one day closer, but I don't know when that day will come.
we don't even know if they're going to be in English. That's the other thing. We could get into all the panels. You could get into the special screening of the Andor season 2 thing, and then the whole thing's in Japanese. Which
I haven't even thought.
Didn't even thought of. But I'm assuming that all the actors don't speak Japanese, so whether there'll probably be live translation, or there'll be something like it might depend on the panel and who's hosting it and all that kind of stuff. But they need to accommodate for the the Asian market, the Japanese market. That's why they're there. And it'll be majority Japanese people. So it will be, I mean, as I've said before, I have been to Japan. All the major stuff is in English as well as Japanese. But I'm not sure. I mean, I don't, how that would work. I guess we'll just have to figure it out. When we get there, it'll be interesting nonetheless. But that would be quite funny if they did it like that.
I didn't even
There
thought.
must be. I'm friend of the show. Actually, I don't know if you're listening, but he's a pretty good listener, Tom Sutton. If you're listening, because when he was on, he went to Celebration Japan in 2011, 2012, maybe. Whenever the last one was, he attended. So maybe he can give some insight. Maybe I even asked him. I'll have to go back over that episode and check. But Tom, if you're listening, mate, can you send us a message? Drop us a line on Twitter or something and tell us whether all the panels are in Japanese or not. What we can find out. But yeah, that'll be interesting. You might need to put a fish in your ear. There's a reference for you. So yeah, we'll just have to see. But it's exciting. It'll be a movie year. There'll be lots of Mando stuff. I think you can assume. And the thing is, like, Tokyo is actually not that far from Los Angeles. It's not, Hawaii's in the middle. It's not a million miles away. It's pretty doable flight. I think it's closer than London. In fact, I'd have to double check my Google Maps, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I think that they can get everybody over there for a couple of days without too much trouble.
I think the flight times for us and at least the west coast of the US are comparable. I could be
9
way
hours.
off there, but
9,
I
10
think
hours.
it's comparable. But again, I could be wrong. I could be confusing that with something else.
Well, you have been doing your due diligence, Catherine. So I know we're a long way out, but nobody will be more prepared than you, I think, for Japan.
Look,
I think you're
I'll
going to love
know
Japan.
where all the cat cafes that also have model
Cats and
trains are.
Lots of cats, lots of trains, and you're like, well, it doesn't matter if all the Star Wars celebration was in Japanese, because I got to I saw a little cat in a train driver's hat sitting at the front of a train, and I had a great time.
Yep.
So we'll wrap this up. It's nice to get me back podcasting. I obviously took the summer off. We will definitely do the year in review one, even if it ends up being the end of January or whatever. I mentioned before, I've got a guest, I think next week I'm going to try and make happen, who hasn't been on before, first time guest. There's a bit of sizzle for you, who is an awesome dude. So I'm really hoping that we can make that happen next week. But when we can get Matt Mole and you on, we'll do that's the season that was, our year in review. We'll do it, whatever. Doesn't matter, it's a bit late. Who cares? It's only podcasting. But yeah, what a day, a Mando day. We'll look back at this day and we'll go, I wonder if this movie ever happened, or when we saw it, going whether we were talking about it, we couldn't have been more wrong. One way or the other, or will it just be Batman 66?
Oh, please be Batman 66. That would be
exciting.
great.
I don't think anybody's made that comparison yet, so I'll take that one. Catherine, great to have you back as usual. New year. Get ready for another big year of Star Wars guesting of things when whatever comes out first comes out, whether it's the Acolyte or Skeleton Crew or whatever. We'll get you on, obviously, to do the reviews, the weekly reviews and stuff, as we always do. And Geek Pod is back as well, so check that out.
Yeah, last record I did New Year's Eve because I'm a rager, and I'm trying to line up a few other ones. So, yep, keep an eye out for the very infrequent drops, but part of 2024 is, no, I want to podcast more. So we'll see how that goes.
Excellent, eh? Always looking forward for when a Geek Pod drops. And so we'll try and get some new stuff out. Holidays are nearly over, so hopefully there'll be a little slightly better schedule. But thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye, Catherine.
Bye, Josh. Bye.
Bye.